Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. So today I want to talk about anxiety. Anxiety is something that we all experience in our lives whenever we're doing certain activities, and at some points in our lives it may be a little bit more intense than others, due to new events that happen, maybe changes in our families or in our jobs or relationships and things like that. So anxiety is a very normal feeling that we have. And as long as it's not too overwhelming or too intense and we're unable to manage it, it is very normal. And there are ways to manage it. So today I want to give you a few tips on how to manage anxiety, the regular anxiety that we may experience in our day-to-day lives. The first thing I want to talk about is eating, our diet. Our diet is very, very important. There are certain nutrients and supplements that our bodies need in order to have the proper chemical and hormonal balances that we need in order to regulate our mental health and our moods and even our physical health. So our diets and what we consume is very important and very crucial to how we feel. On that note, I want to mention about alcohol and drugs. If at any point you try to use alcohol or drugs to kind of alleviate or take the edge off of feeling a little anxious, this can be very detrimental in the long run. So while you might feel a quick at the moment relief from the anxious feelings, it can in the long run affect the way that you feel. You may develop a dependency on it and then develop a tolerance and then possibly develop an addiction to the substances. And it actually, after using these substances, afterwards you feel more intense anxious feelings. So, your anxiety intensifies after using them. So I would highly recommend that you stay away from these products, these substances, and try to manage it in a more natural way, not using that kind of substances, unless you are prescribed medication by a doctor, that's a different story. But I'm talking about like recreational things or alcohol things, you kind of self-medicating, I wouldn't recommend. Number 2 is sleeping. Sleeping is a very, very important aspect for managing any kind of mood or anxiety or stress. It's really important for our bodies. Again, just like eating, sleep helps our bodies function the way that it needs to function in order for us to manage our thoughts, to manage our mood, to manage our mental health, to manage our physical health. It's really important that we get the amount of sleep that we need, that is recommended for us depending on age and whatever your body needs. Make sure that you get the right amount of sleep that you need in order to be able to manage your anxieties or whatever stresses come that may trigger your anxiety. It's proven that in postpartum women that have had babies, new babies, a huge risk factor for developing postpartum depression is lack of sleep. So when a woman comes home with a new baby and has the responsibilities of a new baby, she tends to not be sleeping as much. And that is a huge trigger for developing postpartum depression. Of course, among other things like hormone imbalances and stuff like that. But one of the biggest things, and they tell you that, if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling sad, try to get more sleep. Try to get a little bit of rest, through the whole postpartum process. So lack of sleep is a huge risk for developing depression later on, and untreated anxiety in general can lead to depression. But in regards to anxiety, sleep is also very helpful in helping you focus and helping you try to manage those anxious feelings. Number 3 is exercise. It's been proven time and time again in several studies that exercise is a huge way to relieve yourself from these anxious feelings and even depression, any kind of like mood disorders or mental health disorders. It's very helpful when you're exercising. And I have some patients that'll say, I have some clients that'll say, I do exercise, but I'm still feeling this way. My recommendation to you is to increase a little your intensity of your exercise and the duration of the exercise. Just do a little bit more, do a little extra, and see how you feel after that. Because it may be that you're just kind of, your body's used to a certain amount of exercise, and so you're not really feeling the effect, so you just have to increase it a little bit. But it is super helpful highly recommend that if you are not active, if you don't exercise, and you're having trouble with some anxiety, I would highly recommend that you take up some kind of physical activity. Next thing I want to talk about is mindfulness. Mindfulness is a very broad topic. It's a very big subject, but generally, or in kind of in a nutshell, mindfulness is intentionally being in the moment. So trying to actively stop your thoughts and bring yourself to the present moment, how you're feeling in the moment. Sometimes when we just identify the emotion that we're having and kind of sit with it for a minute. So thinking like, okay, I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel defeated, kind of just identifying that emotion alone helps relieve so much of the stress and the anxiety that's associated with that feeling. And it's really helpful to just be able to pull yourself out of whatever you're thinking and think of how you're feeling in that moment. In addition to that, you want to be aware of what's going on in your environment. So mindfulness, being mindful of your emotions as well as your surroundings. Intentionally bringing yourself in the moment is mindfulness, and is very helpful when dealing with all these ruminating thoughts of all these negative ruminating thoughts of like, something bad is going to happen, or you're stressed out about something and you just keep thinking about it over and over. Which brings me to my next topic, or my next point, is something called a worry window, right? This is a small tool for if you're really having a hard time with stopping your negative thoughts and like your ruminating thoughts. I suggest something called a worry window. And what this is you're allotting yourself a certain amount of time, right? Let's say like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you feel comfortable with. You set a timer on your phone and you say, okay, after these 5 minutes or after these 4 minutes, I'm going to stop thinking about this. You give yourself those 4 minutes to let whatever thoughts go through your head. And then after those 4 minutes, when that timer goes off, that it's now time to actively stop thinking about this thing and think about something positive or practice mindfulness. And, with the worry window, I want to just be clear that we need to know the difference between worrying and thinking, right? Because when we have a problem in our lives, or when there's something going on, in our personal life or at work, or in, with our friendships or our relationships, we tend to think about it, and we have to think of a solution for it, for whatever the problem is. If you're thinking about it and there's no solution coming out of it, then that's just worrying, right? If you're thinking about it and you're trying to find a solution and you come up with a solution that you want to maybe try out or whatever, that is thinking about the problem. And that's okay. We need to do that. But if you're thinking about it and nothing's coming out of it, then that's worrying, and that's not productive. And I encourage you to stop to, use this mindfulness and this worry window technique to help you kind of manage your thoughts a little bit better. And I'm just looking at my notes here. The last thing that I want to mention is our faith and our reliance in Allah. It's really important that and the reason I mention this last is because I don't want you to think that you can just pray or wish your problems away. You do have to put in the work, and that's not to say that this is the least important by any means. But we need to know that we have to put in the work in order for Allah to help us to do His part. We have to first do our part. So I encourage you to pray and make a lot of dua, and just be close to Allah and have that reliance on Allah, that He will pull you through it, and He will do whatever is best for us, because He loves us and He wants whatever is best for us, whether we see it or not, whether we feel like it is the best for us or not. It is Allah's plan for us, and we just have to trust in that. So I wanted to just mention that to kind of give you guys a little bit of hope, and hopefully this video is beneficial and you guys find it helpful. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.